Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to the Voice of the Cape Matric revision segment. And today we are covering the subject of Arabic with Sheikh Nasser Bonds, Arabic educator at Darul Arqam Islamic High School based in Mitchell's Plain. And Sheikh is the the head of Department of Arabic and Religious Studies. And Sheikh will be covering the subject of Arabic, looking at the breakdown of paper 2. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh, and welcome.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, alhamdulillah, and I trust that Sheikh as well.
Alhamdulillah, thumma alhamdulillah.
So in today's lesson, Sheikh is doing a breakdown on paper 2 of Arabic. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, last week, alhamdulillah, we did paper one, and now we're doing paper two, the breakdown for it, inshallah ta'ala.
Inshallah. I'll now hand over to Sheikh to commence. Bismillah.
Shukran. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا يبي بعد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh, dear students, all those studying the beautiful language of Arabic. And we pick up again, alhamdulillah, from where we ended off last week. Last week we mentioned we break down paper one, we break down the benefits of learning Arabic, how it can benefit you in your future careers. We also dealt with the syllabus, what it entails, the themes for this year that you should know. And today, inshallah ta'ala, we'll be continuing with that. In order to know, before we can do any revision, before you revise, first we need to know what is required from us in paper two. What is the difference between paper one and paper two? So inshallah ta'ala, we kick off with that now today. The objectives today, we should be knowing the paper two outline, question by question, where we can gain our marks, where we should avoid erring, making mistakes that will cost us our marks. And that's what the second one means when we say marking rubric. What is it that the marker is looking for? And remember, dear matriculants, at the end of the year, your teachers will not be marking your things, right? It will be a stranger, someone who does not know you, and someone who is totally reliant on your handwriting, what you have put on paper. So it's always wise, always good to know what they are looking for in order to avoid or where to gain. Then thirdly, we'll be doing some do's and don'ts, how to answer the question paper and what to avoid when answering the question paper. Let's continue. First of all, paper two consists only of 4 questions, unlike we saw last week, paper one. It consists of 10 questions. This only has 4 questions, and it remains a 2-hour paper, despite many of the students, many of the learners saying that they couldn't finish the paper, or the paper was too difficult, or they didn't find that the paper was sufficient. Now, inshallah ta'ala, looking at the layout of the paper, we also now know where we can, how we can manage our time better while answering the paper. Question one, extended writing. When we say extended writing, we're meaning essays. So now we know paper two, unlike paper one has got to do with comprehension, has got to do with grammar, has got to do with reading something, understanding, comprehending it, and answering questions based upon that. Paper two, however, will be writing letters, as we see in question four, question one. Essays, they will give you topics, what to write. Question two, short responses. What does short responses mean? We will get to that later, insha'Allah ta'ala. Um, Question three, conversion. What does it mean, the conversion? And that too we will tackle later, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. We will also um, be tackling letter writing question four in order to know how to answer the paper and adequately prepare for a paper. And I've also put there to the mark allocation in order for us to prepare. And in order to prepare, know your marking system, your marking grid. And the total of paper two is only 100 marks. Right? And when I say only 100 marks, I'm referring us back to last week when we said much more easier to pass Arabic than sometimes other subjects. Right. Question one. How should we answer question one? How should we, what does question one entail? Remember we said extended writing, and that refers to essays. Right? Sometimes in the question paper they will say write a composition. Sometimes they will say write an article. Now these are all words which means the same thing, write an essay. An essay based on the themes that we have covered, the themes that you should know. Hayatu Yawmiya, daily life. So an essay could come in the exams, write about your daily life. Right? Or they could give you a topic, write about ad-dirasa, schooling, your studies. Another one could come in, another option is as-safar, write about traveling, which would be past tense writing, a narrative essay, write about travels that you have experienced. Or al-utla, the holiday. So if you should write an essay about this, how should the essay be? So the topics are there. And here, let me quickly refer us back to the instructions on the cover page of the question paper. Always, my dear students, learners, matriculants, always the one thing that many matriculants overlook or disregard are the instructions. And the instructions are so important that once you understand what is required of you, you can then plan your work and you can then answer accordingly. So the instructions are check that your question paper is complete. Let's check that all your page numbers are there. Check that you have nothing missing. Check that your pages are running in order. Page 1, page 2. And if you page over, you see page 3 perhaps is blank. Check also that and read answer all the questions because it's paper 2. So there are no options, maybe selecting like other subjects, selecting question 1 above question 3, etc., etc. Right? Also check that you vocalize, and like last week when we say vocalize your Arabic, we mean write on the harakat, the a, I, u. Right? And we've touched on last week when we said some learners rewrite, they go back to the word, they write out the letters, but they don't vocalize, they don't put the a, I, u on the harakat on there. And that actually slows you down. And that adds to the problem of insufficient time. So once you write out the word, put on the harakat again. Put on the harakat immediately. So when you pass that word, and you write again that word. And when you finish with that word, with the harakat, well vocalizing, then you're done already with that word. But sometimes you see learners, they write the word. To go back again is now again meaning you have to re-look at the same word twice. And that also will waste time. Please leave a line open when using Arabic script. Reminding us again from last week when we said that if you write a kasra from the word above and you don't leave a space open and we read the word below, then it looks like a fatha. Or because some learners write big and you see, is it the kasra from the above word? Is it the fatha from the bottom word? Right, so please maintain that space. And I'm going to refer us back to this instruction number 6 when we refer about keep a line open, because that's very crucial for this paper specifically. And as usual, it always counts in your interest if you write neatly and legibly. Right. Question 1. Extended writing. Here's an instruction from my past paper. Right? And the instruction reads, study the text provided, because the source material could have 4 options. And remember, we have 4 themes, 4 topics. Or they may even only give you 3 options. And then you'll have to select one of those options. They could give you source material as I'll show you now later, inshallah ta'ala. The question reads, study the text provided and write a composition. And remember, as I've mentioned, composition is just another word for an essay. Write an essay. And the moment you hear essay, you know, as you have trained during the course of the year, and even prior to this year, when you write an essay, there must be an introduction, there must be paragraphs, and there has to be a conclusion. The step number 1. Number 2, must consist, there are your word count. Your word count is extremely important. 120 to 150 words. Choosing only one of the texts. So from the three options that you are provided, only select one topic, one of those things. Make sure that your word count is within 120 and 150. And please, my dear learners, matriculants, if you do not have the word count, if you have insufficient word count, two things will happen. Either you will get a note for insufficient number words, because in order for you to gain the marks, the rubric or the marking guideline is designed for 120 words, right? Or depending if it's one word, a few words, if you just miss a criteria, maybe by a word or two in the conclusion, for example, and then they could even be you could even be penalized, right? So being penalized or getting a zero does not count in your interest. So please ensure that you write minimum 120 words. Do not drop below that number. And note, you may describe. So when I see the text and I choose this text to write on, then you can describe, you can inform, you can express your opinions on the topic that you have selected. Right? When they say express, they're actually looking for you to use adjectives. When they say give your opinions, they want you to personalize the story. They want you to personalize your essay. For example, if you find, as we will see later on, they give you an option to write about Muhammad or a teacher or someone or a friend went for traveling. And then you select that topic. They want you to express your opinions, make that your own personal travels. It does not mean write an essay about Muhammad's travel. It does not mean write about my teacher's travels. They said make it your own personal travel, right? How do I know I must write about travel? Because that's a topic that you have selected. Remember to number your essay, or the term is composition, but it means the essay. Remember to number your essay accordingly. If you select text 1, question 1, text 1, then you number it text 1, and then you start your essay. If you select question 1, number 2, then select write question 1.2, and then you continue. Marks 30, very important. This easy score, and remember, I refer us back to last week when I said in order for you to gain marks and how easy it is to pass Arabic final, there you find 30 marks, subhanAllah. If you can master that 30 marks, then you know you have basically 2 feet in the door ready for passing paper 2, right? And I remind us again, the objective is not just to pass, the objective is to pass well. So by studying all this and taking and adhering to all these tips, you can pass well, inshallah ta'ala. We can look at the examples that we have there. When we say question 1, I hope it's clear if you can see. Question 1, see, there's my option 1.1. And when I look at these pictures, I can see it's about Al-Utla, and even put the Al-Utla, the holiday. Now I know one of the themes were Al-Utla, the holiday. So now I should write an essay about my holiday. Right? What do you do in your holiday? If I'm going to choose 1.1, then my heading must be Al-Utla, and you start the essay introduction, paragraphs, and conclusion. Minimum 120 words, and allocate the 120 words. Then writing, mention over there, you can express where you went to, where did you travel. And remember, my dear matriculants, the travel could either be abroad or it could be local. Then, if you do not select, and remember the instruction was select 1 only. If you do not select 1.1, Utla, then look at the second option they give you. 1.2, Ad-Dirasa. Now I know, just looking at the heading, I look at the words Al-Madrasa, the school, Al-Kulliya, faculty, Al-Jami'ah, university, Man Jadda, whoever strives. Look at Alimuddin, the one who's knowledgeable about Deen. If I look at these words, I see Muhandis, I see Saidali, a pharmacist, I see Sharika, company, etc. If I look at these words, I can see it's about studying. Right? And in the bottom, I see An-Najah, success, Khidmatul Ummah, in the service of humanity. Now, these are only guidelines. These words are only placed there so that you can know what the topic is about, so so that you can write on the topic. But what should you write about? Ad-dirasa. From which angle? Your own personal angle. Right? Write about your studies. Write about what you want to be in the future. Write about your school. Write about the subject that you study. Write about what you want to become in the future. But that topic deals with studying, schooling, university, etc. Can we look at 1.3? Still question one, but the option is now 1.3. So whichever one I'm reminding us, and there's a reason I'm reminding us. At times, learners and students, they just haphazardly just answer anything. Remember, the marker is there with an objective. She is there to check. She is there to mark. She is not there to guess which topic you have selected. So please ensure that you number it correctly, making it easier for the marker. Once again, just makes it is just in your benefit. 1.3 Al Hiwaya, hobbies, the hobby, right? If I look at Al Hiwaya and I look at the words there, Al Aql Salim, a sound mind, a sound body, that below that At Tarwih Anin Nafs, relaxation for the soul, for the body, physical, relaxing. I see words like reading, I see drawing. So these are all terms about how to relax or how you spend your day. And remember what one of the topics was? Al Hayatu Yawmiya, your daily life. So in here, in these words, you will see it sticks within the themes about how you can express yourself with your daily life, the things you enjoy doing in the holiday, things you enjoy doing weekends. So any topic that you choose, Alhamdulillah, so easy. But once again, my dear matriculants, everything becomes easy with the amount of effort that we place into it. Right? So extended writing. This is what I want us to remember. My 120 words minimum. I want us to remember that the format must be then. What's the format? Introduction, paragraphs, and conclusion. Right. And this is very important. And I'm bringing us back to point number 6 when I said skipping a line. I will say that in order for those for others to see the line, to see the next in the format, what separates paragraphs is 2 lines. So because our normal Arabic script is already skipping a line, if you skip 2 lines, this now indicates a new paragraph. After the introduction, you skip 2 lines. This indicates the start of my paragraph. And at the end, after your last paragraph, you skip 2 lines. And now you write the conclusion. So all that, just by looking at it, already gains you marks. Huh? Please, and I'm reminding us again, it's impossible, my dear matriculants, to write an essay. How do you form sentences if you don't know words? So please, it's vital knowing the topics specifically and knowing vocabulary around the topics helps you a great deal during the training through the year and also with relieving some tension and anxiety in a final exam. Let's move over to question 2. Question 2. Question 2's total, also 30 marks. Once again, an opportunity to gain and score marks here. Right? You have a selection. Can we go to the instruction? Perhaps it'll become more clear. Respond to any 3 of the following situations. And this too is taken from a previous paper. The content of your response should demonstrate your understanding of the situation. So they give you 4 situations, 4 scenarios. They only require you to select 3 from the 4 options. Right? So if you choose 2.1, 2.3, 2.4, for example, 10 marks each, there's your 30 marks. Right? What is it that they want you to do? What does short responses refer to? The situation applied to all learners. What does that mean? Sometimes, and as you know in Arabic, you have to address someone. Unlike English, when I say you can be applied for male or female. But in Arabic, it's very specific. So even though the instruction may be masculine, it does not exempt the girls from writing it, and vice versa. Sometimes the instruction is feminine, and it does not mean that the male students or the male learners cannot respond to it. Right? So that's what they mean. The situations apply to all learners, and your response must be between. And once again, my dear matriculants, please be cognizant. Please take note of your word count: 20 to 30 words. Right? So short responses basically it consists of SMSs, a dialogue, or emails. With me, I'm repeating SMS, Because a short SMS means that's where I'm getting my 20 words or 30 words. A dialogue will mean that I have to write a short snippet of a discussion between two people. And emails, very similar to an SMS. I want us quickly for a moment just to ignore the word SMS and emails. Just remember, irrespective whether it's an email or an SMS, is exactly the same thing. I must have my name, and I should have the words, the content we call it, and then I should have my signing off, my ending off with my name again. So you SMSing, who are you emailing? That person's name must be there with a greeting. We don't just put the person's name, we greet the person first, right? So then when we end off, we don't just say ma'assalam, finish. Ma'assalam, no. We say salamu alaikum or ma'assalama, and from who sent the email and who the SMS is from. Right? So now that we have that, they must see who you are writing to, and they must see who the letter is from, or who the SMS is from, or who the email is from. Right? Let me quickly go to the scenario of number 2.1. أنت تريد أن تحجز غرفتين. Here's a scenario they're giving you, that you want to book 2 rooms لخمسة أشخاص for 5 people في فندق in a hotel. اكتب الحوار, write the dialogue there. Now the word حوار is telling me option number 2 over there, it's a dialogue. Now it's no longer SMS, no longer email. Who should the dialogue be for? Between, they say over there, بينك, between you, وبين الموظف, and between the worker at the hotel. Maybe the receptionist, في الاستقبالي, at the reception, at the hotel's reception. Now that you want, there's the scenario. So now you cannot be discussing, my dear matriculants. So the dialogue will be, you put your name there and put al-muwaddaf, the worker, the employee, right? So you can put those things there, the consultant, you can say the receptionist, whatever. But muwaddaf is there and your name is there. So those are the 2 people now in the dialogue. What should the discussion now entail? Now we can't be discussing sports. We can't be discussing Umrah, for example, or the Kaaba. We can't be discussing problems now you can't be discussing the school. So the place to, in a scenario, in a situation where you have to book. Now, in order to book, common practice, logic now is clear. I want to ask about the room. I will not have to ask when the rooms are available, etc. and etc. Do you see that? Answering that now creates content for your 20 to 30 words. Do they want you to write 2 pages, a long discussion when you arrived? And oh, no, because you only have, remember, my dear matriculants, you only have 20 to 30 words to do that in. And if it's for 30 marks, then it means was probably question 2. If it's 2 hours and I have 4 questions, then it means I can only spend a half an hour with question 2. That's 30 minutes. So now I know with my 3 selections, for each selection, I should only spend 10 minutes. Right? So they don't want you to write 3 pages and long pages, and they're putting the requirement in order to limit you so that you can manage your time well. 30 words maximum. Let's go, let's continue so we can maybe make it more clearer. When you SMS and you email, they want to see the greeting and the addressee. Who are you addressing the SMS or the email to? All right. No format whatsoever. It's as simple as this. Assalamu alaikum, dear, yeah. If it's a friend, mention the friend's name. If it's a parent, mention ya ya walidati, or my mother, etc. Right? That's it. Next line must be the content of whatever the situation is. Look at the next guidelines over there. End off with your name, the relation and the name. So at the end of the SMS and at the end of the email, no www dot, no double email, no nothing like that. Only, and I try to simplify it for you. Right? When we think SMS, then as a teenager, we don't put the name there because we think now the person sees our name as we are typing. You say, no, but this is an exam scenario. We want to see the name because if you look at the bottom, you see that counts also towards marks. And I'll explain that when we get there, inshallah. And when you end off, by the way, don't think the person has been chatting to me the whole time, so now he or she knows it comes from me. No, we want to see the name. We want to see from and the relation. If you wrote to a friend, then you have to end off from your friend Muhammad. If you wrote to your mother, then end off from your daughter or from your son and your name, etc. So that means you're probably writing 5 lines only, right? 5 lines, 5 sentences, because only 30 words. The content also dictates to you how much to write as well within that 30 minutes, within that 30 words. Can we take the second example, 2.2? أرسل رسالة قصيرة. Send a short note. And risala literally means a letter, and qasira means a short letter. Our terminologies, short SMS. Ila, to abika, to your father, wa akhbirhu, and inform him. Now I know who I'm supposed to address my SMS to. See, they said your father. أنك تريد أن تدرس في إحدى ديار العلوم, that you want to study at one of the علوم, Darul Ulums, في سنة الآتية, next year. So SMS your father saying that you want to study next year at one of the Darul Ulums. See that? So there's our scenario. And then they made it even more easy for you. They've placed in brackets. You must now explain to father in an SMS, Aina, where you want to study, Limada, why you want to study, Kam Sanatan, how many years studies will be, and Asakan, and where your residence will be. Does it have an accommodation? Now, if you write an SMS to father with all those 4 points in, then you see you will now have all your content, and all your content will be 4 marks. Where else do they check? Look at the rubric at the bottom, where you can score your marks, where you can gain your marks. They check language and vocabulary. When you said ila, did you put the kasra at the next word, knowing it's a preposition? Are you making the sifa and mawsuf, the adjective and the noun, do they coincide, etc. and etc.? That's what they look for. Register and tone. I'm now at the mark allocation at the moment. When they say register, did you understand what you were supposed to do? And the tone, did you address father with the respect that's due to him? So it's Ya Abi, you say Al Muhtaram, my honorable father. Right? If it's a friend, it will be my dear friend and a name. When it comes to parents, don't need to write the name. Right? So that's what register and tone mean. Register. Did you maybe ask your father if he wants to study? That shows that you didn't register what you were supposed to do. Right? Maybe you misunderstood and you told your father you don't want to study at an ulum, etc., but the instruction says that you do want to. That shows that you misunderstood, so you didn't register what you were supposed to do, right? And the total there, 10 marks. If you look at the one below, you see when we have the dialogue is also there to tell us that the dialogue is there to tell us the conversations between two people, Muhammad and Shakir. I'm using this as an example. Muhammad and Shakir. So we need to see those two names. That will be what's the word for the only difference between the dialogue and the SMS and the email. SMS and email, no format. The only exception will be with a dialogue where we see two names, dot, colon, and the conversation. Shakir and the conversation. Further on there, in this block that's not so clear, this is, for example, it might not be two names, it might be the teacher and the student. Maybe they give you a scenario of doctor and patient. So then the dialogue must be between doctor, and it will be the doctor and the patient, etc. And that's how we move along. And even though there's a dialogue between two people, it does not mean I have to exceed. Yes, the word now to be every line. So maybe now I have 35 words, 40 words, but please do not exceed too much. Part of the register is also, let me give a quick example, doctor and patient. I give you a scenario of doctor and patient. And the whole dialogue, the whole discussion is how you came to the hospital. The doctor asks, where do you live? You state where you live. How did you get here? How did you come to the hospital? You say by bus. Ask, what time did you leave the home? You say 5 o'clock. And this, you say, all right, who did you come with? You say mother and father. And I say the whole discussion is about getting to the hospital. And the last sentence the doctor asks, is there anything I can help you with? I say, yes, doc. So that was a conversation, but the content of it, for example, if the instruction was your health, speak about your health. Do you see you lose marks by the content and you lose marks by register? Why? Even though you had a conversation with doctor, it did not fit the criteria of the instruction. So please take note of those things, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. Right, continuing with the paper 2 outline, we're now at question 3. What does question 3 want us to do? What does question 3 entail? Question 3 entails conversion. And this is very important to understand and extremely easy and simple. Question 3 only requires us, so in other words, they will give us a source. Either they will give us the dialogue and then we have to convert it, or they give us a story and then the story will have to convert. So number one, you will see this conversion in two ways. Either they give us a short story and they want us to a story about a traveling of someone, a traveling of a person, for example, or someone studying, a story about Muhammad who's a Indonesian student and is studying at the university, and the fact that's a story about him. And now the question is, let's go quickly to the question. Provide questions for each of the following statements. Right? This is a past paper, and the instruction came like this. And further on, it will become much more clear, inshaAllah ta'ala. Provide questions for each of the following statements. Then use both the questions and answers to form a cohesive dialogue between yourself and a friend. Now I know. So in this particular example over here, they give us a story and they want us to convert that story to a dialogue. What must the dialogue consist of? It must consist of all the information in the story. Right. But if the story is only about Muhammad, who is a student, how then should we make the dialogue? We'll discuss it a little bit further, inshallah. The second way is they give us a dialogue and they want us to convert that to a short story. And sometimes they use the word article. They don't say short story, they say convert it, or they say write an article. What does article mean, my dear matriculants? Please, just know article just means a short essay. That's it. And the reason we're mentioning article, because we don't want 120 words. They want something shorter. And when they want something more shorter than a full essay, but it must still have some structure of an essay. They must still be able to see an intro, whether it's one long sentence or two short sentences. They want to see some paragraphs. What must the paragraphs be based on? On the dialogue. So now, if they're providing the dialogue, it means it's a discussion between two people. And in order for us to write a story on that, we will have to read the dialogue, understand the dialogue, and now write it in third person. Right? And note the word count. How much words? No words. No word count. They do not stipulate within 120 words. If it's less than 120 words, but to have all the information of the dialogue in there, or maybe you write a dialogue. They don't want a lot of words. There's no word count, but all the information of the story must now be in the dialogue. Right? That forms your word count, and that forms information that they provided in the passage. Right? Let's continue. More examples of question 3. In this example here, from the one that we just did now, they said provide questions for each of the following statements. Now, if we look at this, we can see all these are statements. Number one, تكون العطلة الصيفية. The summer holiday was or is in the month of December. Number 2, that's a statement. Summer holidays is in the month of December. Number 2 says أحب أن أسافر. I love to travel to قريتي, to a city لقضاء العطلة, to spend the holiday الصيفية مع جدي, to spend the summer holiday with my grandfather in the village. Right? I love to travel to spend time with my grandfather in the village. Right? Have a look at 1 and 2. Those are statements. Now, what are we supposed to do with the statements? The instruction further reads: use the questions. Which questions? Now, my dear matriculants, this is what we now need to know. For conversion, You must learn your interrogatives. Some people say interrogatives. Simple word, your questions. Learn your questions, memorize, know your questions well. Right? So when it comes to conversion, I must know mada, which means what, limada, why, kaifa, how, aina, where, how. That's a question depending on the context, man, who, etc., etc., etc. Right? Come, how much, how many, etc. Know those words. Why? Because from all these statements, I must now perhaps, maybe I must take number one. Number one will be I will now have to create two people. Who are they? It's me. I can write your name and write your friend, Muhammad or Fatima. Right? So it'll be me and Fatima, or it'll be me and Muhammad. Muhammad and I are having this dialogue. So maybe Muhammad is asking the questions and you are answering as you see it there. Then Muhammad has to ask the next question, and then you answering as you see it there. Then Muhammad asks the third, etc. And that's how you go around, and that's how you form a cohesive dialogue between the two. Right. Now, do you see there's no word count for that? So if number one says the summer holiday is in December, if I read that, then I should think, then what would the question be? Then it means Muhammad asked me, when is the summer holiday? And then my response will be the summer holiday will be in December. If I look at number two, for example, number two, and here are your options with the flexibility. And these options are so easy for you, depending if you know your questions well, depending if you know your interrogatives well. So number two, a question could be, where do you love to travel? Or who do you love to visit? Or where do you spend your summer holiday? Do you see? All those variations are there, and that's easy to do if I know my interrogatives. Now, please bear in mind that does not mean I can use the same question over and over many times. And usually, sometimes in other papers, they say you can only use it twice, right? And remember, they want to see in this instruction here, remember to introduce your dialogue. So they want you to have an introduction, two sentences, three sentences, short dialogue. Short introduction, just stating something about the holiday. Huh? If we look at the other example here, here's a conversion. If I look at this one here on my left, a teacher had this conversation. So in this year, question three, this is question three, conversion. For this particular year, they gave us a dialogue. I had a teacher had this conversation with his class. Rewrite the information in the form of a short article. Did they use the word article? What does it mean? Short essay. Right. And when you write an essay or short article based on a dialogue, it means my dialogue now has to be third person. And third person means he said, he said. So the teacher will say I and you, I and you, I and you. If it's two friends, the one friend will say I and the other friend will say you. Right? But when a third person writes about it, it will now have to be he said, she answered. She said, he said. In this example here, the teacher said, and Sharif replied. Next one, the teacher asked, and Ayman responded. So looking at the information there will determine the content of your article or essay. In this one over here, this one they gave a short story. And this story was about someone that traveled, and Yusuf, Muhandisun, he's an engineer, Misriyun, an Egyptian engineer, Qadimun min Misr, he comes from Egypt ila Saudiya, so now he's in Saudi Arabia. Yusuf Qadim li Ziyara, he came to visit, etc., etc. Now, what should I do with the story? The question tells us someone was traveling, and his bag got missing. Was waiting for at the carousel for his bag when he realized that one of your bags is missing. Okay, so there's a story. Let me quickly see what it is that they want us to do. You approach the relevant official. So they say you, it means me, you as a student, providing him with the necessary information about your lost bag. So now my bag is lost. What do they want me to do? Write in Arabic a conversation. So now they want an Arabic dialogue. They want a dialogue, basically, right? Between you and the officer, between you and the security, between you and the person sitting there at the counter of the airport. So you traveled. So picture you, Yusuf, you an engineer, you came now, and you standing at the carousel waiting for the bag. One of your bags are missing, and now you have to strike this conversation with the employee working there. And here they say, remember, and this is crucial, my dear matriculants, because many matriculants leave out the introduction, which means they don't get full marks. You lose marks. So remember to write an introduction to your conversation. And you see they even made it simple. They write uktub al-muhadatha, write the dialogue bainaka, between you, wa bain al-muwaddaf, and between the worker, the consultant, fi matar, at an airport, Cape Town. So you use that to assist you with your introduction. That's it. That helps you with the introduction. Now you have me muwaddaf. Me muwaddaf. Or you can put your name muwaddaf. You can say me muwaddaf, etc. Muwaddaf. Now you say, and obviously by knowing, if you go back to the previous slide, what did we say? Knowing those interrogatives, those interrogatives, your questions helps you with writing this. When did you arrive? What color is the bag? What mother was in the bag? Where did you put the bag? When, etc., etc. Those things, right? What is the flight number? So that is how we use those interrogatives to simplify your life, inshallah. We continue now. Question 4, letter writing. And this is the last question. Important to note, just for the format, you're already getting questions. So please ask your teacher, please ask your educator, help me with my letter format. And here's a tip and a guideline. Memorize your introduction, memorize your conclusion. Because you use it in your portfolio writing, you use it every paper too, and then definitely you will use it when you come in the final examination. Right? No need for you to think up again. No need for you to conjure up another format, memorize it, know it well. And that counts in your favor also to save time during the exams. So what should the letter format consist of? Your address, first thing on top. Right. Second, who are you? And part of the address is the place, the city, country. With that, the date. Please remember the date. When we say address, we refer to all those things. Right. Second part attached to the address is who you are writing to. And the instruction in the exams will tell you, write a letter to your brother. So now you have to put brother. Write a letter to your sister. So now you have to put sister. Write a letter to your mother. So now you have to put mother. Write a letter to your father. So now you have to put father. Write a letter to your mother. Write a letter to your father. 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 Write a letter to your father.
And that concludes our matric revision session this afternoon. Shukran to Sheikh Nasser Barnes for the lesson delivered this afternoon. From myself, Kanita Kamara, I bid you farewell. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.